Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Here in front of you is a lesson that I've done, really to make the children understand that everything that we have really goes back to our Creator, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this lesson is all about from sheep to sweater. Basically, I begin my lesson, again, as you can see, I have a lesson plan. I've actually sat down and done these lessons in circle time in a Montessori, and it's worked out really well because it's helped me collect my material. And I've actually looked around. We have Sunday bazaars here, or used to have, and we have these places where you can get old books, and scrummaging through different bookshops, I've found some things that would be useful for me. And one of them, even though now most of the sweaters we wear are acrylic, but here you can see there's a whole story about how sheep are waiting to be sheared, and then how after they're sheared their fleece is collected, and then how it's put into boxes, into bales, and then how they what the whole how they are branded, and once they're done. And just a little sweet story. I don't actually do the whole thing here. I just tell them about how the sheep are sheared, because I felt that this book had a really good picture about it. So here's a picture of sheep, then they're being sheared, and how they're being sheared, and that it doesn't hurt them. And I tell the children that it's really like having a haircut. So even though they are being shaved, it's just like shaving your hair, or like your dad shaves his beard, or people shave their hair at the time of Hajj. This is a good book. And then I have a book here, Where Does It Come From? The Woolen Jumper. And it talks about sheep farms. As you can see, my book is really coming apart, but I don't even know where I've had them from. These pictures are a little smaller, and how then they taken to a factory and washed, and then cleaned and made into yarn, and then finally how through machines it's created into fabric, and then created into sweaters that you can buy in a shop. So, and here's a grandmother knitting, and I thought that was really neat with the wool. And so in this particular circle lesson for circle time, I've actually collected these things together. One, this book to show, and then here are some knitting needles and knitting that I have prepared for the children. And I actually do this in class in front of them, so they know another word of vocabulary, what is knitting. And knitting requires needles. And then I found a picture that I have for coloring, where the children learn. Of course, we don't teach phonetically the sound k, but it's just the knitting that they would get an idea from. I wouldn't use the k for knitting, because that gets a little confusing with their phonics. So that's knitting. And then here is another one, just so that they know that you can have a variety of colors and a variety of balls of wool. And then I found a really amazing lesson here, and let's talk about needs, again from one of those old bookshops. And there's a picture here which has this in its order, and I thought this is a great way of showing the children. You could also use it as a little booklet that the children could color, and this is really wonderful in teaching just the simple steps. And then finally you tell them, subhanallah, that Allah Ta'ala has made the sheep, and from the sheep is where we get the wool, and from the wool is where we make a sweater, and that's how we keep warm. Subhanallah. So it's just, this is what I would call learning the ayat of Allah, and learning about the ayat of Allah. So here I have actually created my own flashcards, and these are black and white that I've enlarged from those little pictures you saw. And these are the sheep, and here is a man shearing the sheep. Then the sheared fleece is taken to the factory, where it's cleaned and washed and made into balls or yarn of wool, and then that's made into a sweater. The sweater you find in a shop where you go to buy, and look, now I can wear a sweater, alhamdulillah. So that's how we can use this in teaching them about Allah's creation. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.